Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, I don't want to say call out, but I want to refute a lot of the stuff that we have here from Alex, from E for Electric, and also Sandy Munro. So, as all of you know, I have nothing but the most respect for Sandy Munro. I think he's an excellent engineer. He's an excellent automotive engineer. Yet, I think he's wrong, and just sometimes people are wrong, right? Not everybody's always right. And so I'm going to call out Alex mainly because I think he takes a lot of the things that Sandy Munro says here and he twists it to say things that Sandy Munro isn't actually saying. So with that said, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and do me a favor, when you're done watching this, let me know down below in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? But with that said, let's get into it.
Sandy Munro is going to be here to talk about what's going on with Tesla's self-driving technology, which continues to struggle, but as always, the conversation takes an interesting turn. Now, Sandy gets called a Tesla fanboy on a regular basis, but let's see if those people still think that after watching this video. Full self-driving from Tesla. And, no doubt that for consumer vehicles, they are pretty far ahead. I mean, I can argue there are a couple of, like probably Xpeng Motors pretty close. But, at the end of the day, it's 2022 and it's still level 2, not level 3 or 4. They've decided not to go with the LiDAR, and then they even got rid of radars, but now they have a, phantom braking problem. If you were to advise Elon, which I think I ask you pretty regularly, but, what would you do? What are the things that Tesla needs to do to just stop screwing around and, get this thing going, level 3, level 4? What are your thoughts on that?
All right, I want to stop there for a second because what I've done here is I've compiled 2 videos, and essentially they're 2 videos that Alex made back to back. And you'll see why that's important in a second. So before Sandy responds, keep in mind, the way that Alex just set this up was talking about LiDAR and radar and how Tesla's gotten rid of that, right? And so he's asking Sandy, what would you advise? Okay, and so right now we're talking about from a hardware perspective, right? That's strictly the lens that we're talking about. And so that's what you're gonna hear Sandy respond to, is talking about the hardware itself and the way Tesla has decided to approach this and what hardware they're using, right? That's what this is based off of. Now, I will also say that I find it kind of hilarious that Alex, who I don't know what his background is, but for him to honestly sit there and insinuate that Tesla's just messing around when it comes to FSD beta and what they're doing with autonomous vehicle, like it honestly, I don't like it when people do things like this. It's very sensationalism. It's, him trying to make fun of them without, it's a backward hand slap, right? I mean, it's kind of disgusting to me. So for him to sit there and just insinuate that, oh, they're just messing around instead of they're not trying to solve the hardest problem ever solved by humans, like it's kind of ridiculous just the way he's insinuating these things. But let's listen to Sandy and hear what Sandy has to say.
My thoughts are really simple. All that stuff's crap. You know what? I've designed missiles and bombs, and they have to go through clouds, and they have to go through rainstorms and snowstorms, and they have to hit the target every time. Big bomb, and dropped it in a pipe, basically, and that's what blew up Saddam Hussein's impenetrable bunkers. And it also had to burn through a whole bunch of concrete and metal. And you know what? The first bomb went in and it blew up below the bunker, and the second one blew up lateral to the bunker, and basically that was the end of that. Did I use radar, LiDAR? Did I use geopositioning? Did I use cameras? All I used was FLIR, forward-looking infrared. That's what you need. The rest of the stuff is kids. It's stupid, but that's the only one that works in the snow, in the rain, in the fog. No matter what, it can see right through all that muck. And that FLIR, forward-looking infrared, the only one that I know of that's got it out there is Teledyne. They bought FLIR, which was a company called FLIR, and they bought that, and that's the only one. The rest of them. Oh, but don't tell that lady in Washington D.C. Don't tell her about that, because she's heavy duty into LiDAR and the company that she's got gazillion stocks in.
Okay, so let's take a stop there or pause there for a second. So very clearly, Sandy Munro is responding to the hardware question, right? Again, Alex set it up to talk about hardware. He asked about LiDAR and radar and cameras. And here you have Sandy talking about FLIR. Okay, so FLIR, again, is essentially a way to see the world via heat. And in my opinion, this is a horrible, horrible idea. Now, I know you might be thinking, hey, Nick, what do you know about FLIR? You don't know anything about FLIR. Sandy Munro is an automotive engineer, right? He's been doing this for many, many years. Well, normally, when it comes to anything automotive, I would not ever even dare to debate or go against what Sandy Munro is saying. But before we, talk about my background and my experience with FLIR, let's just take a step back. Do you really think the Tesla team hasn't thought about this? Do you really think the Tesla team hasn't thought, hey, would LiDAR work? Hey, our radar is a good idea. Hey, is FLIR a good idea? They obviously have. And what they've come to the conclusion of is that all we need is passive optical. So in other words, cameras. And when I say passive, what I mean is we're not sending things out, right? Radar is sending waves out. LiDAR is sending out light beams. Okay, so we don't need that. And so with FLIR, for the most part, FLIR is also passive, okay? So with FLIR, the difference, though, is that all it is doing is picking up heat signatures. And so anyways, my point is, if Tesla, if Elon, if Andrej Karpathy have come to the conclusion that cameras are the way forward and the best thing to use, then I honestly wouldn't be debating them. The same way I wouldn't debate Sandy when it comes to anything automotive engineering-wise, I wouldn't be debating the likes of Elon and Andrej Karpathy when it comes to this topic, this subject that they've dedicated the last, better part of a half a decade working on. They clearly know what they're doing. They clearly see how close we are. And that goes back into what Sandy was just saying there. So Sandy was saying that, to see through fog and rain and all these things. Look, I just made a FSD 10.11 video where you can see Omar from Omar's catalog. Check out his Twitter if you want. But Omar is driving through San Francisco. He's driving on the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's just complete fog, and the car can still see. How many times have you seen FSD videos where it's downpouring, and as individuals we're watching, we can't see anything, yet the car can see? How many times have we seen it where the light is just blinding the driver, yet FSD can still see? It's because cameras are a good use for this, okay? And I'll talk more about, the wrong way of thinking that Sandy has here. But now let's talk about my experience with FLIR. So I actually, as an engineer, have used FLIR throughout my entire career. In fact, so much, look at this. I've got FLIR. I've got more FLIR. A little more FLIR. I have some ICI, which in my opinion is better than FLIR. And even more ICI. This is over $100,000 worth of cameras here, and meters with cameras built into them, just using FLIR technology. So I have used FLIR throughout my entire career, okay? Especially as a mechanical electrical engineer, right? We're constantly looking at breaker panels, and before we touch anything, to make sure that if something's hot or not hot. When we're looking to see big capacitor banks to see if anything's blown out. I mean, we're constantly using these cameras, and what I can tell you is that they are excellent for the right purpose. Okay, FLIR, literally FLIR. You can see it right here. It's the exact same thing, the same thing that Sandy's talking about. All right, they are excellent for heat detection. They're excellent for looking for things that maybe you can't see. Somebody running away in the snow and you want to see foot tracks. A firefighter looking for a body, see if there's any bodies inside of a burning building. Perfect for it. For autonomous driving, I think it's horrible. All right, FLIR cannot see nuanced detail. All right, and take a look at this video. Okay, I'm gonna put it up somewhere here, but you can see this is me using the camera I'm recording on right now to record on the FLIR camera. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking a look at a piece of paper where I wrote something down, and I'm going to scan across my desk, and you can see how much you can really see. There's not a lot of nuanced detail in it. With FLIR, you're not going to be able to read signs, for example, okay? You're going to see heat given off. And when you drive, all the nuance, all the detail matter. So So here's the question. If I can use a camera, and a camera works fine in the rain, works fine in the fog, and it works fine when it's extremely sunny, why would I choose to use another passive optical means that has less detail, less information, and is less nuance? It makes no sense, all right? And so in a second, I'll touch more on why Sandy's thinking about this the wrong way.
You can see the difference between a dog and a cat. You can see everything around you. That's the mode that I need in order to make ADAS work. I can't make it work if it's foggy out and I'm using any of those other systems. It'll give me something, but it won't give me what I'm really looking for. Cameras, I'm even less enthusiastic about. All the rest of that stuff, as far as I'm concerned, they're trying to find a cheap solution to a difficult problem. But to me, the problem is easily solved if we go to forward-looking infrared.
All right, so this is the problem with Sandy. He's thinking about this the wrong way. He's sitting there talking about, yeah, sure, I can see some things through fog and some things through rain, but he needs FLIR in order to see everything. And that is the problem, Sandy. Look, again, I completely respect Sandy. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant man. I love what he's done. I love his YouTube channel. I follow him, but he's wrong here. The reason he's wrong is because we, humans, need to see all of that, or would need FLIR to see when it's raining like crazy or when it's extreme fog. Neural nets do not. And this is the big problem with everybody out there other than Tesla. Tesla has understood. I do not care so much about the hardware anymore. It's not the hardware. It's the neural nets and it's the software that is going to be able to reach autonomous driving level 5, as some people would call it. Okay? To sit there and worry about what you can see as an individual is the wrong way of thinking. This is this whole reason why Tesla is going to go with version 11, unless it's out already and we just don't know it, but where they're just going to go down to photon counting. Why are they doing that? Well, because us humans, biologically, we have horrible cameras in our heads. Okay, our eyes cannot see a big cone of range when it comes to light. Right? We can't distinguish, if it's pitch black, we can't distinguish a different shade of pitch black darkness to see if there's an object out there. Neural nets, computers, they can. So what Tesla's going to do is they're going to take out that beautification that cameras do, right? Those compressors, those analyzers, those amplifiers to allow us to see, and they're going to take that out and just let the neural nets get the direct photon count so they can see. So when it's pitch black out for us, a neural net, the vehicle can be able to detect, hey, there goes a deer. Hey, there's a car. Hey, there's something in the road out there. All right. This is the power of software. And this is where Sandy, I think, is falling short in his understanding. Right? He also, from what I can tell, tries to stay away from the FSD conversation other than evangelizing for it, right? I mean, he has said many times that we need to have this. Anybody who stops this is, they are committing murder if they try to stop the progress of FSD beta. And I would agree with that. But he's also looking at this problem being solved from a human perspective, okay? It doesn't need to work so that humans can see it. Right? The computer can do many things that we can't. So I think that is the fundamental problem with the way Sandy's looking at this. He thinks the problem's going to be solved via hardware, but it's not true. The problem's going to be solved via software, right? The hardware is just a means of getting the data into the neural nets, and the neural nets decide what to do with that data.
What about, parked cars that don't emit any heat, or stop signs, because like Tesla had problems, still are having problems. There's a billboard with advertising of, home security with a stop sign saying, stop the predator, right? And Tesla sees the sign, can't figure out that it's, far away and not really shaped like octagon, and stops, right? Or attempts to. Would that prevent that? How would this technology see the objects that are cold?
All right, so again, can we stop here for a second? Alex, you are fundamentally misunderstanding. It's not that Tesla has an issue with seeing a billboard that has a stop sign on it and then stopping. If anything, that shows you how good the software is. All right, so for those of you who don't know, there's a Tesla that was reported to stopping on a road because on a billboard on the side, there was a sign that said stop, and so the Tesla stopped every time it got to that spot. It took the instructions that said stop, and it stopped. Now, why did it do that? Well, you could think of it as a kid who's learning to drive, who's being a smartass. That's the best way to think about it, okay? The kid only knows what you've told him. You said, hey, stop at anything that says stop. Anytime you see a stop sign, you must stop. Okay, well, so that's what it's doing. It saw that on the billboard, a billboard. It's not sitting there saying, hey, look at the shape of that. That must be a stop sign. It's reading. The neural nets are reading what that sign says. The sign said stop, so it stopped. And this goes back to the point of edge cases, right? That's an edge case. That's not something that most humans would have ever thought of, all right? So with these edge cases, now we learn. And so now the neural nets can distinguish, oh, that's not the stop sign that we need to stop for, right? This is why edge cases are so important, because the real world will present things that we would never have imagined. We never would have thought of that scenario for a simulation, right? And theoretically, you can solve for everything in the simulation because it's human thought. So if you can build in a simulation, well, then humans made it, so you've already thought about the potential issues, so you can solve for it. It's the real world scenarios like that you can't. Now, LiDAR, FLIR, none of that would have ever been able to distinguish, oh, hey, on that big billboard, it has a stop sign, and so I need to stop. Not saying that's the right move, but that's the nuance that matters. Okay, that's the nuance. Now, yes, the Tesla shouldn't stop there, but now it'll learn from it. But that just shows you how detailed and how precise and how advanced the neural nets are becoming. All right, so it just needs to be trained more. But if you were me, I'd rather have a vehicle that's overcautious like that and has the ability to do that, rather than me driving around with essentially blinders on and only being able to see silhouettes of objects. That doesn't help me.
If I have this on a fire truck and I swing back and forth, I can see where the bodies are. It's been proven by the military for eons. I mean, every ship, every plane, every bomb, in fact, every soldier, not every soldier, but almost every soldier, has a gun sight that has a FLIR. Okay, people call it night vision and crap like that. There's a whole bunch of names for it. It's all forward-looking infrared.
This is where Sandy really kind of, for lack of a better word, steps and trips over himself. Night vision is not using FLIR. They're fundamentally two different technologies, okay? And again, you don't need to take my word for it. My best friend from college, I went to a military academy. He went Army. He flies Black Hawks, and I had a long conversation with him today. And so I'm going to put some stuff up here, but what you need to know is that there is a fundamental difference. So I talked to him, and he confirmed that no, what we use is not FLIR. We do have FLIR on the front of our helicopters, or in some other areas within the military, but it's not for night vision. Or in here you can see his study guide from his Black Hawk. By the way, all of this is public information. It's allowed to be shared. So I'm not showing you anything classified, but you can see here, there's two different types of night vision goggles. Green phosphorus is the older version, and now we've gone to white phosphorus, which he was telling me you can just see so much more detail with the white phosphorus. And what's interesting is, I was reading this whole manual, and it's actually camera-based. It's not FLIR-based at all. It's not heat detection. It's actually camera-based. And here is another image. You can kind of see how everything is working. It works very much like our eyes. It's got a phosphorus screen. It's got a fiber optic inverter, right? And it's got the ability to flip everything with the photocathode so that we can see it in the right way. But feel free to look at all this. But to hear Sandy sit there and say that night vision is using FLIR, that's not correct. That's absolutely incorrect. And again, this is confirmed by one of my best friends. He was I told you guys last week, I told you he was in town, but he's Black Hawk pilot, uses this literally every day for his job. It's not like he's amateur hour. He's been deployed. I mean, this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. And listening to him speak, the amount of technical, he has an engineering degree as a background. But listening to him talk about this in a very technical manner, it was very clear this is not FLIR, what's being used here. So again, I love Sandy. I think he's right on many things when it comes to the automotive side of things. I don't think he has a good handle when it comes to software. I think he's looking at the software problem of autonomous driving through a hardware lens, and no pun intended there. I watched this first video, and I was just listening to it. I was like, this is all wrong. Okay, these are people who don't seem to use these technologies on a day-to-day basis. Okay, I use FLIR all the time. forward-looking infrared. My best friend uses his goggles all the time, right? So we're speaking from actual user perspective, right? People with engineering degrees. We're not like we're nobody, right? But then Alex on this next video decided to take what Sandy said and manipulate it. And I thought this was very, very disgusting to see this. And it's just shameful. So again, if you remember from the beginning, the way Alex brought up the question, we talked about LiDAR, we talked about cameras, we talked about radar, and that led Sandy to talk about FLIR, all right? So we're talking about the medium used to capture data to bring it in. Now, Tesla doesn't make their own cameras. Tesla doesn't make, the lenses or anything when it comes to the cameras, right? Tesla buys the cameras, puts them in the vehicles, right? So keep that in mind as we watch this next clip.
Last month, a very first FSD beta crash was captured and posted on YouTube by a Tesla employee. And even though it was a small one where the vehicle struck a green plastic post, it certainly raised questions about how such an advanced AI system that Tesla claims FSD is has made such a simple rookie mistake.
I'll pause there real quick. Again, we are going to talk about this. This is AI Addict. If you have ever seen his YouTube channel, he was a FSD beta tester for Tesla. Okay, he is an engineer, doesn't have an engineering background. All he was is a tester of the vehicle, of the beta product. And the whole thing here and again, this is the disingenuous of Alex, where he's sitting there trying to say where Tesla claims they have such an advanced FSD and all this stuff, and it makes such a rookie mistake. Alex, stop being disingenuous. Stop it. This is ridiculous. You know it's FSD beta, and it's beta for a reason. We expect it to make mistakes. All right, and if you're telling me that it's such a rookie mistake, it is such an inferior product, then answer me this. With over 60,000 beta users all across the country, almost in two different countries, across states from Rhode Island to New York City to Jacksonville, Florida to Chicago to California to Boston to Austin to everywhere in the states, over 60,000 beta testers. And this is the first accident that we've seen, and it's not even a real accident. Okay, yes, it hit this plastic cone. Okay, big deal. It's beta, and that's the first accident we've had. We expect mistakes. We expect there to be crashes. And this is the first one we've seen in all these years? I'm sorry, that's pretty damn good, all right? You tell me, how many accidents have there been with Waymo and with Cruise, with their LiDAR systems? I can tell you there's been a bunch. And they're in a small little geofenced area. They're not all across the country in all different cities. They're not. And they've had a lot of accidents. So let's continue.
There is also a good case to be made that this is something that would have been easily avoided if Tesla would still be using a radar or at the very least a seeing eye dog.
Again, how can I have any credibility? How can you have any credibility when, I get you're trying to be funny a little bit. Maybe he's trying to channel his inner Stephen Mark Ryan, which he's failing at horribly. I mean, Stephen's at least witty and clever with what he says, and it's actually funny and it lands, but this is just silly. And for you to sit here and talk about radar, again, this is somebody who fundamentally doesn't understand how FSD beta is working or what the approach is with Tesla. Again, the whole point of not using LiDAR, the whole point of not using FLIR, the whole point of not using radar is because if we've got all these signals coming in, all right, we have all this information. If one of them disagrees, who do we listen to? Do we listen to the radar? Do we listen to the LiDAR? Do we listen to the FLIR? Or do we listen to the camera that is the most nuanced and has the most perception out of all of them? Well, naturally, you would choose the camera. You would believe the camera over all those other ones, right? Well, if that's the case, why would I use those other ones if it's just going to create more noise? This is the point that people don't understand. This is why we went away from radar, LiDAR, why we aren't using FLIR, right? Is because cameras are the best tool for this. All we need is good data coming in, and cameras give us the best, most nuanced data.
We've seen an accident caused by the Tesla's FSD beta, and it appeared to be very mild. No big deal, right? Wrong.
So it's the first accident we've seen. And again, it's a rubber cone that the vehicle hit. This isn't that big of a deal. And the first one we've seen, 60,000 users all across the country, no geofence. I think it's pretty damn good.
In a quite harsh move, Tesla has fired that employee. His name is John Bernal. John has been running his YouTube channel AI Addict for a while now, where he showcases the FSD beta scenarios in his videos. John claims he has disclosed his channel to his management and they did not have a problem with it all this time until the crash video was posted.
For you to sit there and just say it's a harsh move by Tesla is to insinuate that you know all the details around the firing and to assume that AI Addict gave us all the information that he's being truthful about it. Now, I don't know about any of you, but the company I work for allows me to post as much as I want about my company. However, if I put anything that makes them look in a bad light, even if it's true, I would have some serious repercussions, if not be let go. All right, we signed a contract not to do these things. When I used to work for another company that I can't publicly disclose as an engineer, I had to sign a agreement that I would never post anything on social media. Good, bad, doesn't matter. I would never do it. It'd be a security risk. All right, so I find it hard to believe that Tesla doesn't have, their T's crossed and their I's dotted when it comes to their employees. And I'm sure they said, yes, go for it. You can put up YouTube videos. But at the same time, you also have to have good faith. You have to put things in a good way. You can't just sit there and put something out that makes us look bad, because at the end of the day, you're a beta tester. If something happened, you should be telling us internally. You shouldn't just be going out and putting stuff on YouTube to hope, oh, well, this will be a very clickbaity video and maybe I'll get a lot of subscribers from this and then I don't even need to work. All right. And again, it's not like he's a actual engineer. All he is a test driver. I mean, I don't mean to belittle him or anything, but you don't have a background in engineering. I'm not saying you need a degree in engineering, but it's not like you've sat there and been under someone to learn how the software works or how electricity works or mechanical anything. I mean, sure, there's apprenticeships all the time. You don't have to go to college, but again, this kid is pretty young, and honestly, that's a rookie move to do that. That's not a good look, and I can't blame Tesla. And again, we don't know the whole scope of it. We don't. All we know is this guy posted this video, and then he got let go. All right, I think, again, any of you, I'm sure most of you, have worked for a company that have certain requirements that you cannot disclose anything that puts the company in a bad light. And this did.
Doesn't look good on Tesla, that's been struggling to bring their full self-driving tech to level 3. It's been level 2 ever since coming to the market many years ago.
I don't know what he's talking about struggling. Tesla is literally going to get to level 4 by the end of this year. I mean, unless you haven't been watching FSD 10.11 videos, it's getting really close. I mean, you see very few disengagements from people. I mean, disengagements are declining precipitously.
But the price of the FSD option has recently gone up again to $12,000 with very little improvement yet a newly discovered issue of phantom braking. As a matter of fact, it seems that Tesla may now have problems selling it, because here's what they're doing right now. You know how it takes a long time to get your Tesla after you order it? Plus, your delivery can be pushed back at any time, including on the day of the delivery. In other words, they don't know how to keep the reservation.
All right, so I will give him credit. That last part was kind of funny. That's a Seinfeld reference about keeping the reservation. So, all right, I'll take a little break on that one, Alex. At least you have good taste in shows. All right, but let's take a step back. He's insinuating, first of all, that Tesla is hiking the price of FSD beta to $12,000 because they're having demand issues, because they're struggling with it. That doesn't really add up. Okay, then he goes further to insinuate that he's forcing people to buy, he's bribing people to buy FSD beta, pay $12,000 for it, because what? Because they can't sell it enough, because people aren't buying it. Meanwhile, we have over 60,000 beta testers, and if you look on Twitter, people are constantly complaining and begging to be allowed into the beta, right? This makes no sense. Instead, maybe, just maybe, the reason Tesla is going ahead and now pushing for people to get FSD beta, and they raise the price because we're getting so close, because the technology is getting that good, because it makes sense. It makes people better, safer drivers. A human plus FSD beta is a lot safer than just human alone. Maybe that's why. Oh, and don't forget the whole part, it is a company who's trying to make money. And why does Tesla want to make a lot of money? To accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And what happens if Tesla makes more money? Well, they can reinvest it to make cheaper vehicles, to create more gigafactories, to invest in more mines so that they can have more batteries, right? That's kind of the whole goal of the company. So it's not like this is out of left field because they're struggling so much. That's just, preposterous.
Okay, so now if you've ordered a Model 3 or a Model Y and dared to not give Tesla the $12,000 for a non-self-driving package, you're going to wait even longer. Because if you did decide to pay what at this point can only be classified as a bribe, you'll get your Tesla up to 4 months earlier than originally promised. Of course, one can say that Tesla is just trying to maximize their profits, but this trick was available to them all these years, but they've only decided to start using it now.
Again, why would Tesla try to push out a product that they didn't feel was ready and feature complete or close to feature complete? All right, but all that time, it wasn't. They're still working on it. Now, we heard on the last conference call, right? They're all in with FSD beta now. They see it. They think it's going to happen this year. They're convinced of it. So now is when they start pushing it because the product seems more complete. Like, this isn't rocket science to figure out, but he's choosing to have his blinders on and ignore the truth here, right? He's choosing to do this. It's the same reason why you'll see in a second here, he tries to manipulate what Sandy says.
None of this is a good indicator that the FSD package is either that advanced or worth it. But the biggest hit it took this month was from one of its biggest supporters claiming that it is essentially, and I quote, crap here. What are the things that Tesla needs to do to just stop screwing around and, get this thing going, level 3, level 4? What are your thoughts on that?
Do you see what he did there? He completely cut out the whole beginning of his question where he talked about LiDAR and cameras and set up the conversation to be a specific conversation with regards to hardware. He clipped that out and he just talked about what does Tesla have to do to go from level 2 to level 3 to level 4 to level 5. And it goes to Sandy and he says all that is crap. So the way it sounds is that Sandy is saying FSD is crap. No, Sandy was talking about using cameras or LiDAR or radar versus FLIR. This is a complete hardware question, all right? And again, Tesla doesn't make the cameras. So there's nothing crap that Sandy's saying about Tesla. He just doesn't think cameras are the way to ingest the data. Meanwhile, Sandy is wrong because it's not about the hardware. It's about the neural nets and the neural nets with the training. So I thought this was... I was on a plane when I saw this video, and I could feel my blood boiling. It's just, I cannot believe somebody can be this dishonest. To me, this is no different than what we see on the news or on the media where they say disingenuous things about Tesla and Elon Musk. Look, I'm not saying Tesla's perfect. I'm not saying Elon's perfect. I'm not saying everything they do is right, but this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. And I honestly don't know how this guy has so many subscribers. It's just sheep following a wolf. That's all this is. I don't know. So that's why I made this video, because I want to call this out. I want to call out the fact that Alex is honestly he's just trying to make clickbaity things, which is fine, I guess, if that's all you're into this for. But for me, this is all about giving an engineer's perspective about Tesla and how I see things, and to share my investing journey with you. And again, to have kind of a memoir for my kids in the future. Right? That's what this is all about. And along the way, if I make some friends, if I get some subscribers, if this all turns out well, hey, that's great too, right? Nothing wrong with that. But this is not the way. This is not okay, in my opinion. So I had to react to this. And with regards to Sandy, again, I love Sandy. I think he's one of the best things that's happened to YouTube. I'm so happy that they're doing their channel. They show so many great things. But when it comes to software, I don't think Sandy can hold a candle to Andre or Elon. And when it comes to FLIR, I have a lot of experience with FLIR. Again, we used to use it every single day at work. Right? I know how they work. I've used them. I know where they're good and I know where they're not good. And they're not good for this problem of autonomous driving. And also keep in mind, there's a higher requirement from a computational perspective, from a compute perspective when it comes to FLIR. And that's everything that Tesla is trying to get away from with the cameras so that we have less jitter and less lag. We want the neural nets to make decisions a lot faster, and having anything that's going to be more computational demanding is going to create more lag and more jitter. So that's just yet another reason why FLIR is not a good choice. All right, thank you if you stuck to the end. If you enjoy this type of content, help us out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. I appreciate everybody, again, if you stuck to the end. And hopefully you enjoyed this. And again, let me know your take. Let me know if you think I'm overreacting. Let me know if you think I'm wrong down below in the comments. All right, thank you again for watching. Peace.